Thank you so much for joining in. Today we have a very, very exciting panel. Founders, operators, senior executives from brands and from infrastructure companies that are helping build these brands in FMCG, in fashion, in food, and a lot more. A lot of names that will really sound familiar to you. The idea of having such a diverse panel today is to really understand that how all of these brands, wherever they're operating, how they're using technology as an enablement layer to shape consumer experience, the consumer journey, discovery of their products, and across the entire spectrum. Let me do a quick introduction. We have Harsh, who's the co-founder and CEO of WareIQ. We have Nirdosh, who's the CTO for Melorra. We have Niraj, who's the head of product and technology at DaMENSCH. We have Veena, founder of Monrow Shoes. We have Hemir, who is also the co-founder and CEO of BeepKart. We have Vanda, the CMO of Wow Skin Sciences. We have Prathamesh, co-founder of Omniflo, and we have Debasis from Google Cloud at India. Right? Folks, let's quickly dive into it. Why don't we start with Veena first? Veena, help us understand, you're building a lifestyle brand out in India. How are you discovering customers, given in the age where a lot of the personally identifiable information is going away, cookies are going away, you have to figure out new ways to develop or recognize your customers. How are you doing that? And before you get there, a little quick intro on why you're building Monrow in the first place would be great as well.
Passion-led businesses tend to have more than business, and that's the objective. I think at the beginning of our funnel is content. Monrow runs a 6% engagement on Instagram, which is organic. That is the beginning where we interact with the consumer. Now, while we don't know who this consumer is, this acts as a pool for us to retarget. The fact that our content has already spoken to somebody and they've interacted with us, that's a very strong cue. And that's how the journey starts. Now, the deeper we understand our own category. So, for example, we run different kinds of campaign on certain assumption. So, for example, what kind of a woman would wear like a red shoe? Somebody who's a bit more experimental for sure, right? And that's how we bucket out some of our products, because we know that even if we don't know a lot about the consumer, we know broadly their preferences, right? And hence that bucketing of ad campaigns help, because Facebook's all targeting algorithms are automated. All you got to do is ensure that the AI gets bucketing clearly of the kind of content you want to put out. So I think our biggest success has been our ability to understand our own category and hence find cues to begin this whole conversation, and hence our own Instagram-led funnel. And last but not least, continuously look at the purchasing pattern, which is how do people move from one subcategory to the other? Is it easier to sell a comfortable heel first and then sell a flat to that consumer, or the other way around? So even without knowing who she is, what age she is, what she does, knowing that she engages with the brand content opens up another way of communicating through paid channels for us.
Got it. Veena, help us understand, you have a very deep SIS presence, probably around 70 SIS locations that you're present in. How is this informing your online marketing strategy and data streams through which you get insight, or vice versa, right? How are you correlating what you're seeing as SIS purchase behavior to your online targeting and what you're seeing online to say what inventory to place at what SIS, or some other layer of insight that you're applying to make both of these work?
So Monrow World, which is our own website, acts as a kitchen. So a lot of things get dished out there first. We get some insight on which products will do well or not. Now, based on that, we also try to stitch in some statistics from offline. So, for example, Patna as a SIS has an appetite for colorful shoes. And then the moment we launch some sort of a colorful capsule on our own website, it's a no-brainer to know that this particular set of products can go to Patna. But I think what has really helped us is maintaining price parity, is to ensure that the price at which you will buy a particular shoe of Monroe Whether you buy it in shop or you buy it online, or whether it's e-commerce, I think price parity has really helped us. I still haven't found any learnings which we could take from e-commerce channel, but hopefully as we evolve, we might learn some more things. But in e-commerce channels, our product NPS has helped us.
Got it.
So even before we take a product to offline, a lot of crowdsourced product NPS gives us insight on the product itself, and hence refining of the product starts happening.
Awesome. Niraj, I would love to jump to you. DaMENSCH, at least for me personally, was one of the first few brands who eloquently made innerwear more sexy, right? If I may say so. And that doing it in the men's category is not easy, right? Between all the superstars endorsing all different brands and huge billboards with kind of very far-fetched body types than that exist in real India. How did you figure out these product insights that Veena was talking about, right? And say, okay, without using superstars, right? Without such star power influence, you want to build a brand that is liked, that is comfortable, right? And that people are proud to wear as well. And what is the technology again layer if really that data helped you build those insights, or was it a lot of the gut feeling initially?
Let me break it into two parts.
Sure.
First, about our products. You said we made innerwear for men really sexy. So our goal is not to really make it sexy, but more comfortable.
Yeah.
We stand for comfort wear. We say that we should be able to do more. You do more, and we'll take care of everything else. Right? You take our T-shirt, which is a 500-day product. You forget about it for 500 days straight. Right? So it's more of a comfort wear. And so when we started, we understood that there is a clear space between the really premium luxury kind of brands like Calvin Klein and all, and the ones below that, around Jockey, say, right? We're not talking about Dixie, Rupa and all of them. They are the ones who use star power to sell.
Yeah.
Because to reach masses, you need that kind of star power.
Right.
But if you look at the brands which are above them in the price range, they do not use any stars at all. And Indian consumers have mostly focused on brands which showcase themselves as a foreign brand, let's say. Right? You can see that Jockey never uses an Indian model.
Yeah.
All their models are either from western part of the world. Right? When we started, we wanted to bring this audience which is looking for better products, more comfortable range of products, and are also willing to pay a bit more premium, right? And what helped us really well to scale was during the pandemic, when people were looking for more comfort wear, because all of us were at home and we did not want to wear denims that all of us are wearing right now, but we wanted pajamas, we wanted comfortable t-shirts, inner boxers which we can wear and move around.
Yeah.
So this is what majorly helped us scale really fast. And coming on the technology part, contrary to a lot of new age brands who try to leverage a lot of technology and build a lot of technology on their own, we have gradually scaled down our in-house engineering to almost zero now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because we believe that our core is this product and the brand that we want to build. So we focus most of our energy in terms of team member resources and all of it on these two aspects. Everything else is taken care by experts. So we use backend commerce suites which power most of our backend tech tools that we use. Then for supply chain as well, we use the best warehouse management systems which make it really efficient for us. Obviously, when we started, we went through trying to build everything on our own. We till a few months ago, we were managing our own warehouse, but we are not really warehouse experts, right? We had to learn all of that, and which is where companies like WareIQ are very useful for D2C brands. Now we have completely shifted to commerce suites and third-party partners, and we are very glad. It reduces costs massively and gives you the best of technology. Because if I try to develop a new feature, let's say, which makes things efficient or improves customers' experience on our app, website, or some kind of efficiency in the supply chain, it will take us much more effort, much more understanding, because we don't have that much data as a D2C brand.
Yeah.
Whereas marketplaces have that. organizations or companies which are building tools for more brands, they have this understanding from across the board.
Right.
So it makes sense for D2C brands to go out and use that rather than try building it on their own, because we don't really want to become an engineering company. We are a brand. This is our product. We want to sell this very well through our brand.
That's very interesting. I think I have seen very few technology leaders being very self-aware, saying that we're not a technology company, we're a technology-enabled company, right? And there is a clear distinction for it. And I think you're probably one of the very few leaders also that I know that advocates that both scale and speed can be unlocked by buying off the shelf, right? Given that it's worked for you, I think you guys have grown tremendously, 2 to 3x, probably every quarter with over 100 crores in ARR.
Yeah, I would say year on year we have grown 2 to 3x.
Okay.
And it has been majorly fueled for most of the D2C brands during the pandemic. And now to unlock the next phase of growth, we have entered into offline as well. So we have opened 5 retail stores in Bangalore. We're trying to build a template for ourselves to expand across India very soon over the next financial year.
That's fantastic. Harsh, I would like to come to you. With WareIQ, you're of course, we've actually to a certain degree, I would say, tier 1 audience more specifically has been spoiled by ordering only if there is a 2-day delivery, and you're building that infrastructure for that to happen locally, integrated with the brand, which is more brand first rather than marketplace first. How are you guys doing that? What are the customers asking you for to enable their growth? Because I think unless you provide the infrastructure, the brand's growth is pretty much limited in that sense, right?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So when we started in 2019, and this is like a few months before pandemic, I think the benchmark of speed was primarily set because brands outside of Amazon could really see the difference that they are not able to get that level of conversion on their page when the speed is fairly low. And customers are spoiled. People get majority of their parcel on Amazon Prime in 48 hours or less. So if your product is getting delivered in say 4 days or 5 days, and add to that where predominantly a lot of the D2C brands are cash on delivery, there is no lock-in at all. Customer is on a day 3 or day 4 and they have not received the parcel, they'll just cancel it, buy the same product or an equivalent product on Amazon. So when we were also in the early days evaluating the business model, talking to a lot of these brands, we figured that a lot of the brands had a complaint that their website is or their Instagram ads and Facebook ad is adding as a discovery channel. Brands, when they customers, when they like it, they would rather buy it on Amazon Prime because speed and return and exchange, the confidence and certainty is much higher than buying it on the website of a brand they're transacting for the very first time. So establishing trust, among many things, shipping and the return and experience around that becomes very critical. So that's something which we enable for brands right now. The way we do it is by simple fundamental, getting inventory closer to customer. And once you do that efficiently, everything gets taken care of. Biggest of the platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Walmart in the US, it's the same principle. You need to get your network designed pretty well. You need to keep right inventory in the right warehouse so that you are able to cover predominantly of your demand center in the say 48-hour catchment. It does not mean that every brand needs to have like 18 warehouse pan India, because demand for every brand is geographically spread. So we use AI and very SQL level insights to make smart placement insight for the businesses to achieve this goal.
Would this AI that you are building in terms of consumer demand work for online inventory management as well, to understand what goods movement? What I'm trying to understand is the data warehouse that you guys are gathering is common and then being applied for different use cases, or how are you guys looking at it?
Yeah, so in the online case, what becomes much easier to do is we know exactly the pin code level demand which is coming up. So you can plot all of the demand on an India map. You can factor in all your seasonality, sale seasons, non-sale seasons. So you can actually figure out that if you had like say 2 warehouse, what percentage of your orders would get covered in 48 hours? If you had 3 warehouse, what percentage that changes? And then you'll also have regional level SKU demand. And so we see that more in the cosmetic segment or so, where top 3 SKUs in North will be very different from top 3 SKUs in South versus West. And so you have to also make sure that inventory is rightly placed, because all the brands, be it the larger ones or the smaller ones, are limited by working capital. So they cannot bloat up the inventory, keep everything everywhere. So you need to have just right placement. So you can just have 100 units of a particular SKU in North, but only 10, and you can still be okay to fulfill your demand for next 7 to 10 days.
That's very, very interesting, actually. Vanda, for WOW products, you guys have a very large product SKU basket, if I may say so, with different applications. And between your inventory management or marketing focus for online versus offline, do these kinds of insights help you, or what are you learning from your kind of data that you're gathering for what's working on marketing, what's moving in GTMT? You're probably one of the D2C brands with a very large, substantial footprint in offline and GTMT stores.
So for us, there are two aspects. One is what we sell. So we have, I would say, about 500 SKUs. What we have seen is two things. One is our best sellers are uniform across all the channels, because there is sheer appeal of these offerings, and therefore they resonate very, very strongly. Even in GT, what we see is that ones which are built online, for example, a consumer has seen an ad on YouTube or Facebook, they buy it online, they see it also in a chemist shop or in a supermarket, and they pick it up there. So yes, the salience of bestsellers is the same. What we have realized is to optimize, right, for how channels work, we need to have a separate SKU type for different channels. So what we've realized is in the online space, certain, for example, pack mixes, that is mls or the shapes, etc., work really well. Because how you buy is you see the interface on either your app or on Amazon or on Flipkart, and you make that purchase. This is all the details in A+ or PDP. However, when you go to a GT store, you also have to, you pick it up off shelf without any information, which is one. Secondly is you also have to be true to how the category actually works. So there are certain hygiene parameters like pricing, also grammages in terms of how many ml sell, right? Because in GT also it's very hardwired, weekly, monthly, for the family, etc. So there we realized that we have to be true to how consumers shop, and therefore we had to have separate mls or literages which were relevant to GT.
Vanda, WOW is a whole different scale, but you've also seen many small brands and been part of their growth journeys, right? Tell us a little bit about, in the last 5 years or so, in the evolution of D2C brands, how has the shape of CAC and ROAS changed as brands grow, especially from an omni-channel perspective?
What I've seen, right, is at a smaller scale, you are fairly efficient, because if you see the funnel as a medium to actually evaluate it, right, mid and bottom funnel actually gives you the CAC, the ROAS, etc. So, for example, in the D2C space or in the beauty and personal care space, there are the insurgent brands which are just starting out and smaller scale, and there you actually can hold on to what you spend and therefore the ROAS, etc. But then there are the biggies. As you grow in scale, right, you have to also compete with the biggies, and their awareness and consideration is very, very important. So WOW especially is in the sweet spot there, where you're big in size but you're not as big. But you have to also drive awareness and consideration. Then we know awareness and consideration comes at a cost, and you can never compete, right? So for me, all three channels are firing. For me, my offline is firing far faster. So for people to go to that supermarket or a chemist shop and pick up, they have to have awareness. And the easiest way to build it is actually TV and going ATL. But we know the cost of doing TV. And you can never compete with the SOVs which the biggies actually play. Their weeks on air are 52, because it's a recall brand, right? It's in your basket every day. So you have to be always on for people to remember you. So we do it in a mix where what we do is a couple of things. One is we do top of the funnel using digital really, really well, where we can target certain cohorts and affinity types. We do influencers to do consideration, and also what we do is Instagram and YouTube, especially YouTube Shorts, works really well for us. The influencer has a coupon code, and we can directly map traffic that actually comes there.
Right.
And then there's performance, where anyways how this through the funnel works, and then you retarget them. and then you actually sell your product. So what we've realized is as we grow in scale, we'll actually have to build on awareness. So we're taking those baby steps. Yes, we did big ticket ads, because if you are in the beauty and personal care space, then you have to have a celebrity, else you're lost in the clutter, right? You have to be on TV, you have to do IPL. But then how does the model work to therefore drive organic traffic to you so that you actually get those conversions? So what we've done, we've realized is digital films work for us, influencers who drive the entire message work. And what we do in GT also is we drive certain pockets. And what we do is, because monies are always finite, right? We take certain markets. For example, aloe vera is very strong in TN, and we'll make a TV plan, but only do it in TN. We measure the success if it actually works, and then we go pan-India.
Hemir, let's come to you. You're building something I would say is very unique, because in an environment like India, your product is essentially solving for trust, right?
Right.
You're selling two-wheelers, again, second purchase or third purchase two-wheelers, building a network around it, solving for the buyer to have trust in the first place. Tell us, how is technology playing a role there? How are you using technology to create that trust quotient or trust mind share in your end consumers better?
We are an e-commerce play in the second-hand two-wheeler space. It's a high consideration purchase. Our average order values are anywhere between 70 to 75,000 rupees. It is the first entry point into personal mobility for several people. And the decision making around this purchase tends to be several weeks spread over several weeks. What we are trying to do is take a very product first approach in terms of solving for this as a digital journey. So what we don't want to do is to sort of have numerous showrooms, for example, and try to be very close to the customer and hence get purchased from. Second-hand vehicles are not a commodity. Every vehicle is unique. So, we are an early growth stage company, and we probably already have close to 250 to 300 SKUs of vehicles to deal with. And, once a buyer comes online, he sort of gets hooked to a particular brand, a model, a color, an odometer reading, a certain condition of the vehicle, a fixed price point, the 1-year warranty, and so on and so forth. So our job is to really, from a buyer-facing side of the product point of view, to sort of being able to communicate trust, convenience, and value for money through a digital journey. And after that, the buyer could end up, sort of in terms of a moment of truth, get a home test drive, or choose to walk into one of our very, very functional, simple yards for a test drive. But we want a lot of that decision making to happen online. Solving for trust is super critical in our space. If the buyer has a bad purchase on a vehicle, he's going to remember it for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
What we say from a technology approach point of view, that we need to know every vehicle's Janam Kundli, so to speak, thoroughly, end to end, exactly on that vehicle, when we bought it, what was the history, what was the refurbishment, what is the sale price, what happened during, sort of the trade-offs that had to be made. Similarly, we need the whole Janam Kundli in terms of the buyer also, because it's a multi-week decision-making cycle. So because, the buyer may have found us online, the buyer may have walked into one of our yards, the buyer may have been referred by someone who's already transacted with us, and, and then we'll have certain preferences. So the buyer wants to see a vast range online, but ultimately when he comes to the bottom half of the funnel, he is barely wanting to test drive 1 or 2 vehicles and then sort of make a decision. So knowing the buyer thoroughly through the digital engagement as well as at the yard level is obviously very important for us.
That's very interesting. Nirdosh, I would like to come to you, because I think the buyer behavior between Hemir's target customers and yours is very similar, though the product categories are very different, right? Jewelry, high fashion jewelry. And I think one of the things that you have been able to create a great brand quotient on is have almost unlimited virtual inventory with just-in-time manufacturing. Tell us how you're kind of figuring out from customers' buying behavior whether you should invest in particular manufacturing or not, because I think that same kind of high attention inventory also informs what your stores are populated with, right? With the physical presence that you guys have.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think when I talk about that, when I say is accessibility, it's not a matter that how do I build my online presence. But we use a term which is called as the harmonized retail, right? and which essentially means we don't look up different media as a channels for us.
Okay.
But what we consider is that this all channels together, right, work in tandem together to solve a problem which a consumer is looking forward to make a purchase with us, right? And which means that if you look into the inventory which we carry today, or which is something we can do a make to order or just in time, is unique across you touch any one of our channels, right? So a product which is in the store is available for any online customer to make a purchase. At the same time, when consumer reaches out to a store and thinks about making a purchase of a product which is not in a store, is again just in time for the consumer. The choices we allow is, say, you can come and pick up in a store, to maybe you can do touch and feel, and maybe you don't like it, you want to maybe consider another product for purchase.
Right.
You want maybe ship to home, right? Or anything, right? So idea is, when you say the harmonized retail, it simply means we want to give a consistent same look and feel across any channel, and then you can explore any varieties of the options which we provide, which could mean live shopping, right? Which means we can give you the video demo. We can pick some products of your choice and bring it to your home, and then you can try it out and make decisions, right? So that's what we look for. The other part of it is, how do we do this, right? How do we make a persona of people, and how do we understand the consumer needs? As you said, it's a high ASP purchase, and consumers do take time to make choices that what they want to make purchase,
Right.
and maybe 2-3 weeks down the line they make the purchase at the end of it.
Right.
So we understand the consumer behavior. We have like a single point of contact which our stores can see, which our customer service agents can see, which our online store can see, right? And when you as a customer, when you walk into, say, online, or when you walk into our stores, you would find the exact same treatment for you. The store agent will be aware about what are the things which have been looking around, and maybe what are the choices I can offer you. What are the things are becoming the primary criteria for you to make purchase, and hence it becomes far more enrichment for our staff to able to offer you something which you exactly are looking for.
Got it.
What our motivation is that to provide what consumer is looking out the best possible they would want to buy it. Not just any product in, but find out the product the best they're going to choose from the catalog we have. Just in time becomes very complex, right? And as you think about jewelry, it's a complex CAD design, almost close to building a car or motorbike, for example. And hence our ability that how do we virtually offer all the products which we have is that we adopt our engineering from the day one of a design, right? Which essentially means we do any design on an engineering fashion, right? We go back and build the CAD models. So if you see an engineering part of your car, exactly same way we design our jewelries today, right? And we place it out in a catalog, right? And once customer likes it out this and places the order, we start manufacturing immediately. Optimizing this cycle is what becomes super important for us to make sure that we are able to get the product in hand of customer as soon as possible with the precision and the quality which customer is expecting it to be.
I was also more alluding to your technology stack. Would you buy more, or would you custom build more to build this experience and for it to be seamlessly integrated? Because sometimes the integration can increase the turnaround time if those touch points, the 24-hour, 48 hours deliveries are important from a brand experience that you're trying to create.
Yes. So, the product which we deal is very unique, right?
Yeah.
And I will probably use, say, when I say the SKU, for me, it's not SKU, right? In a product, every product which I manufacture is unique in its nature, right? Because we build products from a precious metal, which is gold and diamonds and, natural stones, which essentially means there's every diamond stone or the gemstone has its own property and it's valued uniquely, right? Hence, every piece of the jewelry which I produce is very unique, non-fungible product in itself, right? And hence, I can't really go back and put a SKU and say number of quantity, but I have to really, have the details about every product which I produce,
Got it.
right? And hence, picking up something from off the shelf doesn't work well for us,
yeah.
right? And hence we have to design the solution pretty much in-house. And hence, when I say about harmonized retail, that's what enables us that how can I push you, a product which is in Bangalore, so that I'm able to ship you within 24 hours, right? And it reaches to your home before the next day, same time.
Got it.
Right. So this kind of a lot of interesting solution we are able to enable through building our own solutions. We do take things which is off the shelf, right? If you want to use something CS, CRMs, right? We do use off the shelf. But something which is core to our products, we do like to build in-house, and which kind of gives us the extra edge in understanding customer and serving the better.
Got it. Prathamesh, coming to you, it is of course a well-known part of a playbook. D2C brands, while they find product market fit, should start online, right? That used to be the more frugal way of doing it. Though now in the last 3 years with the CAC cost growing, I don't know whether that is true or not, right? So that's subjective. But whenever a D2C brand decides that they want to start expansion on offline as well, right? And start doing those experiments, it's actually building a very different muscle, right? And you're building something that's a plug and play solution there. So help us understand what is that muscle building and how are you using productization in terms of building a physical distribution network for brands to scale.
So offline still remains like biggest part of retail. 90% of shopping still happens offline in India, and I still think that starting online is the most efficient way to start a brand. You get to iterate very fast. You get to work on your packaging, messaging, strategy. To acquire the customers. You get to figure out who are the right customers for your brand and how to best reach out to them. Right. So online still remains that channel where, and it will all the HOLs and PNGs are also opening up their D2C channels and launching brands online first, right? So it will become a predominant channel to launch brands, and that will give significant traction to brands to start with. While that happens, when brands figure out that this is the right packaging, messaging, this is my customer, and they see some hotspots, pin code wise, city wise, that there is some recurring purchase happening from these particular societies, pin codes, these streets, right? And then they are very, they achieve that product market fit. That is when brands really think about going offline and capturing the next set of customers. And that is the big untapped market. So it is a 10x bigger market than what online is, and then it takes a very different muscle to really go and capture that market. So traditionally, what has been happening is brands really, we only had India only had mass brands really. So all the HULs and PNG, they would go ATL, they would do advertising on TV, and then your product actually appeals to everyone in the country. So you would do an ad on the TV channel and then make sure that your product is available across the retailers in the country, right? That's not really true for the D2C brands. They appeal to a very specific demography, very specific clientele, and that approach wouldn't work for them, right? So on the retail side, there are 14 million retailers in India, and most of them are not like a chain in the US or the UK where there are Walmarts and Costco's, where you can just speak to a few of these guys and then you are there, you are present offline. The framework that we have developed over the period of the last 2 years and experience from the past is that there are three things that you need to crack to be successful in the offline channel. You need access, you need attention, and then you need distribution, right? So by access, I mean that because there are so many retail stores, which is the right retail store for your brand, for your SKUs, what quantities do you really push, and how do you really partner with them, right? There are so many of them and all like disconnected, not talking to each other really. So how do you get access to the right retail store for you, for the right supermarket for you? And then inside the retail store, it's a retail store of, let's say, probably 2,000, 3,000 square feet. On an average, 300 customers are walking in. The marketing funnels are really jammed up together where the customer is standing right in front of you, and you get 3 seconds to make the customer aware of your brand. They pick it up from the shelf, they look at your product around, look at the pricing, grammage, all of that, and make the purchase decision in that 3-5 seconds, right? So that funnel is just jammed in there for those 3 seconds. So how do you make sure that the customer who is walking past you, you get their attention, and then you have your value proposition right there, right? So how do you crack the attention piece?
Devashish, Google's entire suite of solutions on the cloud is very, very large and very, very exhaustive, right? But let me jump to you with a question that's probably on every D2C brand owners, operators, and founders' mind, is saying that while the advertising algorithms and AI have become a black box, right? what am I not leveraging by probably looking at public data sets to derive these insights and driving CAC lower, right? What is the kind of public data set, kind of marriage with private data of brands that the cloud solutions can allow to increase impact, to increase discovery? And what have you seen? You've probably within Google Cloud seen small brands to super large brands. How have you seen your customers leverage that kind of marriage really, really well?
Sure. I was like listening to this eminent panel, and every use case I was thinking, I was listening to and thinking I should talk to them. Probably that use case can be best solved at Google Cloud. So I'll start with that. Just before I come to your question directly, I'll just tell what Google Cloud and Google as such offers is very unique. It's imagine from a device to an Android operating system to the languages that your applications are written to something like Firebase that every app ever uses till there is a marketing platform. Everybody, you all are experts, know that better than me. Then there's a cloud platform, there is an analytics platform, then the whole of this backend. So the power that whole of Google can bring in to solve such kind of use cases that you all were talking about is very unique, and I strongly believe cannot be done very easily by others. Now, I'll just tell you an example, like one of the very large retailers who already have grown in the tier 1 cities. And I was hearing like people want to grow and grow where next frontiers are our tier 2s and tier 3 cities. Now, how do you grow there? Like she was mentioning, there was one CTO who told me that mere ko wo lal wala kurta dena. I want to go to a store and tell this sentence and I get this. Can you do that in your app and get those things and buy it? Or there are small ticket, like this one app and they are on us and their ticket size is like 200 to 400 rupees of items. And it's very popular among tier 2, tier 3 cities. And one of the use cases is that they click photos and buy that vision search. So all these things, like for example, be it speech to text, be it vernacular support, which is slowly to grow to the next set of users, it becoming part of it, while Google can very intuitively offer that to the customers. Other than like we often say infrastructure means the VMs and the networks. So I think we have to look at the whole hog of things. The next set of things, I say for example, somebody, like the question that you primarily were asking, that there are options of, there are SaaS solutions that you tie in, wherein you track a customer and you go ahead and use it. But often you want to do, when you grow, you will have some more parameters that you will need that probably would not fit into that. That line, only you know it best. And the moment you start doing this customization, you will probably try to tweak and do a few things more, and then that time you will need it. So one of the use cases that we are seeing very commonly is that there is a web app or a mobile app that is there. Using Firebase, we are collecting all the data. There is a very, very simple way of putting all of these user interactions into something like a data warehouse, like a BigQuery. You do the segregation of customers there. We have built-in models that doesn't require a AI/ML expert to run, and then you do the activation using a product like Luca. So we have customers who are using, like I said, transliteration, vernacular support, voice search, image search, which to reach the next set of, to this large set of marketing platform wherein they are building it themselves or using a SaaS that runs on us. So if you have a SaaS platform that targets, you can go ahead and buy it from the Google Marketplace and target that. So yes, so all these type of use cases, I would say that we definitely can help solve that, and using the very specific teams. Google is a very large company, I represent Google Cloud, but there is a program and process called One Google, where we come to you as one Google and try to listen to a particular use case and try to solve it. So I will just answer that way.
Okay, awesome. So let's jump to a few more tactical questions, right? I think many founders, brand operators might be in the audience listening to us, I would just like to come to a few of you on specific areas of kind of tactical advice to kind of take away from, right? Harsh, why don't we go with you? COD, still a very big part of consumer behavior in India, right? You have recommendation services that probably use AI and prediction analysis to allow to say, should you serve a COD order in this geography or in this pin code or not, right? How are you building that? How are you reinforcing that, right? And what is the base data that you see that is needed to kind of make that more effective? And also for multiple brands, right? You have within just this panel, you have varying AOVs, right? From 200 rupees to 20,000 rupees to 70,000 rupees, right? And I would assume that you will be able to cater to a large subsegment of that.
Yeah, so cash on delivery in e-commerce is still a necessary evil, with a lot of the brands still opting for it, while they understand that it does come across with a lot of leakages associated with it, because there is no lock-in. Customer can cancel anytime,
Right.
and you have to pay forward and reverse shipment cost without any revenue associated with it. So brands do track their returns percentages, also known as RTO percentages, and that number is very minuscule or pretty edge cases when it comes to prepaid orders, but that number is significantly high. I think dominant number comes from cash on delivery only. So as a company, we figure out a lot of signals which we understand for the cash on delivery orders. What is the propensity for it to be returned back? Some of the dominant reasons are, first is the address health, because the way addresses are written in India, they're not very standardized. A lot of running text does not have a unique house number or a pin code sometimes.
Yeah.
So the successful deliveries don't happen, leading to that. The other part is speed itself, because customers, if they don't get the parcel in 3 to 4 days, we have seen, so our statistics say, if the product is getting delivered in less than 48 hours, the chance of it to be returned back is less than 50% of than what it would exceed after day 2, and it keeps on increasing.
Right.
So you have to deliver it faster. The from an AI perspective, essentially, we have to screen it on various different parameters. There are different weightages of it, but yeah, address health is top of that. There are certain customers who have a propensity of placing fake orders in multiple brands, etc. So you have to figure out those particular phone numbers or that behavior and removing them out of your base. There are certain pin codes which are disruptive in a particular timeline or so, because of some natural calamity or some kind of a festive issue, or a particular pin code is not serviced well by a particular courier partner in a typical duration. So we ingest all of that information and some of the other signals to kind of give a flag to the brands that this cash on delivery order, what is the propensity? Is it like a green flag or it's a red flag? And there are proactive checks, say WhatsApp notifications that we do also to kind of validate. Say if they have a wrong address, visibly wrong address, we automatically a notification with the correct data request will go in. So a lot of the quick data changes also kind of preempt these potential cash on delivery orders to be returned back. But yeah, these are like some of the things that we do through our tech.
Folks, open question: how are you guys, using data or insights or predictions based on your existing consumer behavior on the inventory management and planning side of things? Anybody who kind of wants to understand, and Devashish, from your customer set, we would love to understand how large-scale customers are doing that as well. Maybe we can start with you, and then a few of the brand owners can chime in.
So I think one of the largest, say customer data platform, if you look at it, one of the big success stories we had is with Tata Digital. The new Anio app, the new app that is there, actually pulls in data from everywhere. It is not about your inventory side of things, but imagine from profiling of a customer, personalizing, tracking a customer across various properties with the whole life cycle of these things. So one of the big success that we had and referenceable customers is Tata Digital. But I think there are quite a few examples with smaller startups who also do that.
Got it. Brand owners, what are you finding in this segment? Vanda, maybe what is helping you determine what kind of product category, subcategory and SKUs will really run well from a customer demand perspective?
I think it's relatively simple in beauty and personal care because trends, seasonality is pretty hardwired. There is summer, then you have a range for summer, then there is winter. So I think I think prepping for this is very, is a big, challenge because forecasting, building inventory, warehousing, and then all this actually happens, it has to happen in sync, right? For example, sunscreens. Like literally we have to prepare the entire summer plan and close it in December because then you also have to buy your RM, your PM, etc., etc. And especially innovations are a challenge because you have to, one, build from scratch. It has to be unique. And third is MOQ issues, which are very prominent because being a D2C brand, you have the ability to also you launch MVP and you tweak as you go. So I think that is key. Getting early indicators of how it's working also is important. So what we do is sometimes we launch on certain channels where we can track. For example, when we launch on our own channels, right, we actually get signals, how it's getting picked up, what we need to do as tweaks, and then we quickly amend it. So while seasonality is a bigger thing, I think innovations and getting early reads is how we've cracked this model.
Awesome.
I'll just add one more thing. I think seasonality, she meant, and your previous question about the public data sets. So one of the things like the first party data that maybe all of your direct customers are providing, plus the public data sets that is there. For example, the trends data, for example, the weather data and all this. There are like 200 plus data sets today that are made public via Google, and people are joining them and finding more insights to kind of resolve the kind of use cases that she mentioned.
That's awesome.
One of the interesting data point that we use directly from Google is if you Google a retail store's name, right, you get a few photos, you get a bunch of things, about the retail store. One of the things that we use from Google is that it shows you when the store is busy, at what times.
Yes.
And there is a small line below that that says people typically spend 15 to 20 minutes or up to 1 hour in this store, right?
Yeah.
So that really tells you about that retail store. If people are walking in and exploring around in that retail store and they're just not going in for a pack of Maggi or a soda, right? So that is one of the data points that publicly comes from us.
Correct.
To us from Google.
That's awesome. Nirdosh, maybe between you and Harsh, on a closing note, and folks, this is great, but we're running out of time, so we'll have to close. But as a core brand operator, I think both of you are in a position where you have to decide where technology investments are made, right? Front of the house, the storefront, back of the house, sales and operations, post-customer experience journeys, and so on and so forth. Help us understand what are these category buckets where you're prioritizing investment. Maybe Harsh, it's simpler in your point of view, but you also provide touch points for brands to their end customers as well, right? And where you're prioritizing the heaviest technology investments in the first place.
Yeah, so we are a supply chain technology platform. Brands utilize us. So our investments is in the tech, supply chain tech itself that brands can utilize. And what I have increasingly seen over last 2 years is like brands used to talk about CAC, ROS as one of the key metric. Inventory turnover or how efficiently brands are utilizing their inventory is also becoming an equal metric as part of their efficiency. So as a supply chain platform, we are building up technology to make the inventory management more efficient, utilize infrastructure like us in improving their speed, cost, and also improve their turnover. So that's the core proposition is where we are investing our capital in building up the technology platform.
Let me dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. So for example, the touch points that you provide for a brand, right? So let's say a brand is integrated with WareIQ. WareIQ sends the message that your order is, starting shipping, it will reach you in 5 days. Those are consumer-facing touch points for the brand's consumers as well. How much is your technology stack oriented towards that versus how much is your technology stack for your own warehouse management, right? Because as I understand, you don't have captive warehouses, you also expand on the fly.
Yeah, so there are three interfaces. One is for the brand operators. So the head of e-commerce, head of supply chain, they would go to our interface and check their inventory status, order status, last mile, returns, etc. into one panel. Second interface is for a warehouse operator. So he's picking, packing, getting the parcel ready, managing all the edge cases. So that is designed for a warehouse operator. And the third touch point is the end customer who bought from the brand. So he would get the SMS notification, emailer, or a WhatsApp notification, choice of channel. Where is my parcels sort of queries, if there is any returns and exchange that needs to be triggered, those sort of issues, or some edge cases where delivery boy didn't really turn up and a rescheduled request of drop has to be done. So those are like the 3 touch points around which we.
So fair to assume that the customer touch point is probably 20% of your technology stack.
That's right. Yeah.
The other two are maybe split equally between 40 and 40.
Yeah. So for the end customer, it's like a tracking page which they can go to the website and check, or the notifications. But the primary work is high frequency, high usage is largely from the brand operators and the warehousing operator.
Okay. Nirdosh, how about you? For a brand like Melorra, where you do the custom CAD design yourself as well, how much of your technology stack is inward facing versus what the customer sees as a storefront? Maybe just in broad percentages, if you could help us understand that visibility.
Yep. I think, we focus primarily and say what's the core which we want to focus as a company, right? And experience is that one of those, right? But it's very funny to say experience because you can't build experience by not having the behind the scene technologies to be so sound and profound for you to get those insights. If you ask me roughly, we pretty much take off-the-shelf products for our design and CAD because those are very proven, stuff from years people are using it out. When it comes to inventory management, we do build ourselves because our products are very unique. When it comes to anything which is a customer engagement or experience or maybe the first line touch point for us, we build it ourselves. And I'll give you some numbers around this, right? Let's say who buys the kind of gold in India, right? And if you go to the non-urban, there is 60% of the gold purchase happens in India from smaller towns and the villages.
Very interesting.
Now, what do I need to build technology? The question is that, does technology play a key role in this place? Yes, it does play a role, right? Recent I was just looking out some numbers and somewhere roughly 700 million smartphone consumers we have it in India, out of which, Android has around 92% of the market share in that. And if you come down and think about 78% of that is the phones which are less than 15,000 rupees.
Right.
Now, when I build technology, I can fairly go back and build technology for tier 1 and tier 2 cities. But for me, important is that how do I address this 450 million consumer who are also one of the 60% of the gold purchasers in India, right? And for me to build the technology means how do I build accessible, low bandwidth, low processing, phones? How do I build the technology for? So, experience does spread across this, but yes, consumer experience is the top of our mind. And wherever it comes to experience, we build it ourselves. And when it comes to something, established products, we do, use it off the side.
Great. Thank you so much, Nirdosh. Audience, if you have not been a user or a consumer of any of these brands, I would highly encourage you to try them out for sure. And as with everything, whenever you're growing, everything, India and a lot of the world, I think, would not be wrong to say scales on Google, right? So definitely there is a touch point for you, either on the infrastructure side or the analytics side, that will help you grow as well. But with that, thank you folks, everyone so much, and wishing you all the best on your further growth journeys ahead.